no chance that we ever get to see him play unless something is going catastrophically wrong for Nuguri. Because
and that has happened in
he's
the
just
past.
on a different planet.
He is.
Right now. So
especially his laning phase.
Yeah.
Nuguri's laning phase is just disgusting to watch. We'll see whether Khan's going to be able to deal with it as we move into Champion Select. For game number 1, it's a huge matchup between DWG and SKT, and already Teddy getting targeted. His Kalista has got a whole lot of respect in recent games.
If you ban away the Kalista, I mean, SK Telecom looking at Zoe, Yasuo, Ezreal, Lucian. Those are pretty standard targets for the red team right now. There's one of them banned away. And if DWG Gaming wants to try to ban away LeBlanc and Yasuo, they could signify a Zoe first, but very interesting, they're actually electing to ban Ezreal away despite being on blue side.
Yeah, I actually really like this because Nuclear is not one of our Ezreal players.
Yeah.
We've really had this sort of meta separation in Ezreal playing teams and non-Ezreal playing teams. There are teams that just like to ban it away, and also teams that just don't care about it unless they're going up against the Defs of the LCK and the Teddies of the LCK.
There's the Vladimir being banned away against Nuguri.
Understandable one
Probably
there as well.
considered, yeah, the best Vlad in the LCK.
Yeah, I don't know how many better Vlads there are worldwide, to be perfectly honest. Nuguri is pretty ridiculous on that champion. I guess, you know, him and Viper are trying to vie for that position. Viper's still only losing 1 game on the champion so far in his competitive career, outside of Challenger. Thresh going to be banned away here by DWG Gaming. An understandable one against Marta. He's got a skin for champion, so banned it away. Yasuo is going to be the pick-off here as DWG have to pick Zoe first pick.
Yeah, it probably has to be Zoe unless they just want to snatch the Galio and say, hey, I'll pick LeBlanc if you want to pick Zoe.
Oh, that's a really good point. Having the Galio left available and SKT with 2 picks in their hands. This is a tough one as now we get Zoe and Galio for SKT. 4 seconds to go. The Galio is going to be locked in. Okay, thank goodness. DWG didn't flob it already in this draft. And this is actually really exciting because we see Beryl on his debut Galio support performance. Most likely, of course, solo lane Galio is still a thing, but not very good. So it's most likely heading into the hands of Beryl.
Could just respond here with Zoe jungle or Zoe support. I don't think there's really a reason to do anything else. Alternatively, if Faker wants LeBlanc, I mean, you can hold off on getting the LeBlanc until Faker's able to select it for himself. You give the enemy the chance to select the Zoe instead. Alistar.
Oh, okay. 15 seconds to go. If the Aatrox is locked in here, it will be most likely for the jungle, as Clid is going to take his Lee Sin. I like the Alistar being picked here, but I don't think SKT needed to do it in a priority status. So obviously holding back on the Zoe pick and waiting for what Showmaker is going to do first so they can ban some things away, namely that LeBlanc that you were mentioning before.
Kai'Sa right now being hovered by DWG Gaming. Yeah, we'll have to see if they do end up selecting their mid laner right here. Alternatively, they could try to pinch SK Telecom by selecting Urgot or something right now. Jace.
I like Jace even more here because it's sort of a blocker pick to the Urgot as well in a lot of ways. So Nuguri going to be taking that towards the top side of the map. Khan has to work out what he's going to play into it. But we're largely seeing top laners saved until last pick. So I'd like to see the Zoe just locked in here. And then SKT can ban away whatever they want, whatever they don't want to deal with in that mid lane. I think that's sort of the set piece play here for SKT in the draft. But instead, they're going to go for the Urgot, give it over to Khan.
Now we're moving into the second ban phase, and remember, SK Telecom, they get first access to the champion, so they're not the ones that necessarily have to ban away the Zoe or the LeBlanc if they don't want to.
Yeah, so they can hold on to that Zoe pickup. I have a feeling that SKT are looking further towards something like
junglers.
Yeah, like the Lissandra pick here, just going back to what worked for them top side of the map earlier on in the season. Lissandra, Urgot, Lee Sin was there. We can win any game that we're given this combo, even against DWG. If you remember back, it was DWG that was first to clue in and ban those away, and then Faker picks things like the Azir and the LeBlanc, and then they managed to win the series to DWG Gaming. So LeBlanc going to be banned away from Faker this time around. We'll see whether they're going to be able to make things work. Of course, remember, we are on 9.3. This is post-hotfix, and things have changed since the Casper Cup.
So right now, if SK Telecom ends up banning Zoe, DWG probably just respond with Lissandra for a ban. And instead, it's actually going to be a Nocturne, so heavy emphasis on the jungle bans. Not wanting to give away the Galio Nocturne combo.
I like this a lot because SKT probably is going to pick the Zoe if it's left up. And Siva is the choice of ban here against Teddy. So maybe we actually see the solo lane being held on to and an 80 carry picked up here. Of course, the bottom lane has been shown, but nope. The power pick of the Zoe for SKT, and SKT hold on to their ability to pick up a Draven if they feel like it after seeing the entire draft for DAMWON Gaming as well. A lane that could certainly create some priority against that of the Galio and Kai'Sa.
If you want to talk about first turrets going down, Draven is one of the champions that can
Koma's
definitely
been looking at that stat. He's like, oh no, one of us needs to take that first turret. How can we do it? We're not going to get the Ezreal, which is a 13-minute first turret take, it seems like, against the Kai'Sa in almost every single matchup, and instead, it could be the Draven as, oh, Punch. This will be an exciting one. Remember, the first time DAMWON Gaming are facing SKT with Punch on the roster. Punch no stranger to SKT, and Punch also felt the wrath of SKT. Most of the times he played against them while he was playing for Kongdu Monster. So, Beryl is going to look for Punch's pickup here, and Punch wants as much control in the early game. Oh no, this would not be control in the early game as Skarner going to be picked up here. Certainly the fastest farming tank jungler that you can pick at the moment, but not going to be challenging Lee Sin if he finds him in the jungle.
And this is an interesting team composition. We'll talk about what both want to do, and the lovely team here shows us the graphics before we jump into the game. But if you're SK Telecom and you have a pick left, I actually really like, they're hovering the Xayah, saying, hey, if Skarner wants to try to Righteous Glory flash in and target me, I'm just going to R away, lock him up, and then I'll get QSS later. And so this is an interesting battle of team compositions. I don't often actually get to see balanced team comps going up against one another in LCK, which is quite surprising when you think about it. But both of these teams have tools to work with, and it's not as clear-cut as something like Sandbox's Game 1 yesterday.
Yeah, it's not one of those games where you see just priority lanes for everyone and then a farming jungler, and then you can see just already from the outset, this is how the early game's going to go. Right. It's going to have to be a mistake in the mid game for this other team to get back in. This is priority everywhere for both teams. We've got a whole lot of different options, and it will come down to item timings to see who can actually capitalize on what their comp can do. Both junglers looking for level 6, so early game will teach us a lot about where these lanes are naturally going to go. Very exciting to see what DAMWON and SKT can make on the Rift this time around, because the lanes are looking spicier than a lot of our drafts.
Galio, Kai'Sa, Syndra, Skarner in Jace, so looking to have a lot of pressure in the mid and top lane, while Skarner takes his time with match and counter ganks, trying to get priority that way and transition into an explosive mid game with nukes and picks. But on the flip side, for SK Telecom, Urgot, Lee Sin, Zoe, Xayah, and Alistar. Lee Sin needs to escort Urgot and Zoe out of the laning phase and transition into his level 6, where at that point, definitely is a lot of mid and jungle synergy, able to get kills and picks. Let's jump into game number 1.
Of course, SKT has a gigantic fan cheer, and LoL Park is entirely full to the brim of people, by the way, guys. They are certainly, every single seat has a bum on it right now, but DAMWON really having some fanaticism in their fans here going up against SKT. This is a huge match for DAMWON to put away. They don't want to go 0-2 against SKT if they want to challenge for that top spot here in the LCK, aiming for the playoffs. Remember, it's the top 5 that you need to get into if you want a chance at that gauntlet. And DAMWON are certainly teetering between in and out at the moment. And I'm not referencing burgers.
Well, starting this off, just relatively safe starts across the board for SK Telecom and DAMWON. Neither team really looking to take too aggressive of a start. Skarner just controlling his own spires.
Yeah, it's going to be picking those ones up. And LS, I want to ask you about sort of when these teams want to start firing. When do we want to see DAMWON getting things done here on this map? Because I look at the Skarner and I think we want to wait a little bit before we get things done.
Well, so the Skarner is looking to just counter and match gank Lee Sin at every angle, because the Syndra doesn't need any help to beat the Zoe in the one-on-one, which is also why we see Faker taking teleport on the Zoe with Spellbook to try to make it out of the laning phase, and you can see the cleanse on the Syndra just not wanting to get hit. So it's really on Clid to offset the top and mid imbalance early on. And if both mid and top can make it to level 6, that's when even the opposing team of DAMWON has to begin to be respectful for Lee Sin ganks, and they lose out on their priority advantage. If Urgot can get to Ninja Tab Eyes and a first armor item, Jace loses all control of the lane.
Wow,
and so,
look at
really
that. DAMWON with
that.
priority bottom side of the map, and Punch is able to fully clear out of the way of the first Rift Scuttler on his Skarner.
Yeah.
That is huge news for DAMWON in the early game.
This is a fantastic win right off the bat. You can see that Skarner, he already has priority heading to the left-hand side, and he's up a camp to boot. So definitely not the situation that you want to be in. You can see Showmaker managing his mana extremely well. He's going to get level 3 here, almost able to get the crash. And look at Skarner.
Yeah.
Just north, going to be able to steal away a Wraith camp, Raptor camp.
Yeah,
so caster.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, look, it used to be Wraith Camp. It was Wraith Camp for the longest of time, so I think you're okay. It's a bit of a shout-out to the old camp there as cleared. He's going to turn up, wants to be able to steal this one away, will be able to grab it here, but all of the popcorn chicken went to Punch, so I guess he can hold on to that one. Has the exact timer of that camp as well, as the red buff will be taken here by Kill. So no 3 buff or anything like that for the Skarner, but if you're talking about Skarner 3 buffing, you've got a gigantic mismatch in the jungle, and there is certainly none of those when you're talking about Cliff. Both Rift Scuttlers going over to Punch is just huge.
What we're seeing right here is Faker actually shoves the wave really hard, and he's looking for like a cheater recall where you can see the Syndra can't really know, wait, where did Zoe just go? And so Showmaker expends all of his mana trying to get the crash as fast as possible. But in doing so, Syndra's recall, while it is 5 CS greater than Zoe, it doesn't really provide that much of a net gain in terms of battle stats. And so Zoe's still going to have the teleport available inside of the lane, and now she has better control.
Oh no, Khan is going to miss the disdain, gets boot back there from Noguri, so cleared. Doesn't find his way in for his first gank of the game. I want to talk about this top lane a little bit as well. We saw the highlight graphic showing the Conqueror Jace wanting to do battle against this Urgot. I love it. It feels so Noguri to go Conqueror Jace.
Well, it does provide him with a much stronger ability to duel and get into the melee range and look for solo kills. And that's basically what you think of when you think of Noguri, is he really wants to let you know that he's trying to carry the game and trying to dominate and win the laning phase. And that's just basically his style. And interestingly, that used to be Khan.
Yeah,
Khan's looking into a mirror right now in top lane.
And also that's Khan's champion as well. I mean, Khan known almost purely for his Jace when he first came into the LCK. Wish we saw something like his Riven, but not going to as of yet. Beryl and Nuclear just holding on to things here down towards the bottom side, cleared unseen for the moment, as Marta is thinking about when to flash headbutt pole. And he's going to get in, doesn't even need the flash this time. Q's going to land onto Beryl, who flashes after the taunt comes in, finds some Winds of War, wants to get a trade back here as the Ignite is not going to be enough. Punch launching himself forward now as Marta very low, but there's a teleport, comes in at exactly the right time. It's backwards and forwards. The flash comes in from Teddy, first blood goes to Noguri after the teleport, but it will be a sacrifice as everyone uses everything, and Faker even able to make his way down with the teleport. The advantage there from the mid lane, a lot expended, 1 for 1.
And that was a really close encounter right there by DAMWON and SK Telecom. It looked like it was going to be really decisive actually in the side of SKT. We'll talk about it in the replay. And then everyone's teleports coming in. You can see even on the minimap, Syndra wasn't able to convert the mid pressure into a plate.
Yeah, that's actually a big deal because I thought that SKT had blown a lot and then managed to not get first blood and only go 1 for 1. So could have been a problem as we're going to have a look at it once again. It's a good taunt coming in from Beryl.
Galio recommits back in, but Teddy not wanting to use his flash and his heal for the last auto attack, and Beryl coming back in to try to offer anything that he can. He actually manages to get another Q out, and then everyone's teleporting down into bottom lane. Faker wasn't really needed for this. He ended up picking up the kill, steals a flash, tries to do some damage here onto Kaisa. But in the end, DAMWON, they end up making out with a pretty big advantage from all that.
Yeah, Nuclear going to go back. He grabs himself a Bilgewater Cutlass. Does mean that back timing is known. SKT are going to use it to grab this first Ocean Drake, and an Ocean Drake pre 7 minutes certainly is better than any of the other Ocean Drakes that you can possibly get. And Urgot, Zoe, and Xayah all going to be very pleased with being able to expend their mana with a little bit more reckless abandon. Teddy, of course, will most likely be heading towards his Essence Reaver as item number 1. But before that, we'll still not have as many issues with the mana. Corrosive Charge landing here under Noguri on the top side of the map is no big deal, as Punch does have a ward down. Khan's going to be able to face check that one, but look at this Skarner. This Skarner is playing like he's a Kayn or something like that. You know, like, what is he doing? He's so aggressive on this pick, is Punch.
This Crab knows absolutely no boundaries. And the Lee Sin is actually falling quite far behind to it, which is really surprising, because Lee Sin's supposed to be the one that you would think has priority, has control in the early stages of the game, whereas his laners are the ones that shouldn't have been in the driver's seat. But, interestingly enough, actually, it looks like Faker was winning the early laning phase.
Well, the thing that I actually really like about this is that there's a whole lot of different factors that play into what Punch was able to do. And Showmaker getting that early shove in the mid lane and then Punch acting on that so perfectly was just beautiful jungle play around what your team is doing and not necessarily an individual play that we see out of Punch. So just really smart stuff coming in from DAMWON as Faker lights Showmaker on fire, and he's going to go home.
Looks like Faker doesn't actually want to let him recall, but in the end, doesn't want to commit anything to it and risk. Just trying to push that wave as fast as he possibly can. Skarner is level 6, almost level 7. I'm expecting to see some fireworks flies. Syndra going to come back into the lane, meet the wave that Zoe's crashing. Meanwhile, Punch, wanting to optimize this route, will start the Gromp before the blue, then hand it off to Showmaker.
And Punch has a big opportunity right now because Faker's gone full disrespect against the Skarner. Often we see from Zoe's, especially out of the last one that we saw against the Skarner, it was first item QSS. Immediately picks that one up, and I mean, it's not a bad one into the Syndra as well. You want a bit of magic resist to stop them from doing true damage to you and killing you with one rotation. So Faker makes his way topside, is spotted on a vision. That's a really beautiful bubble that lands there, but Khan only able to offer back a powered up Corrosive Charge. Noguri's going to be absolutely fine. So Showmaker and Punch, I want to see them work something out here in the mid lane, but Faker is just keeping himself as out of there as possible, as much as he can.
Something I want to point out really quickly, too, is the Blade of the Ruin King will be the first item of choice for Jason. I guess it's trying to go into synergy with the Conqueror, looking to just try to utilize the attack speed in the melee form.
Well, this was a favorite of Smeb, actually, when he was playing the Jace. This was certainly his Jace of choice build. But does mean that he wants to be staying in the lane and really just dueling. Up against Khan, it's not about the burst damage, it's not about the siege. It's about keeping that split push happening on the Jace. And you can certainly do it, and it certainly does work. So Noguri just changing up the playstyle of the Jace this time around, and I'm excited because I like seeing champions used in different ways based on the compositions that you have.
Right now in mid, Syndra with that blue buff able to... Wow. That was a really nice stun, yeah.
Faker didn't care about it at all, loses 100 health, but it looked cool.
Yeah. Not too much actually really going on right now, but without a blue buff, Faker will definitely have a lot of difficulty trying to sustain. And you can see he's, for the most part, being locked into the lane here. And this means that it can potentially draw Clid into mid lane if Zoe is to get relief against this assault in mid.
At the moment, Punch is going back to base. He's got the Cinder Hulk now completed. That is a big item timing here for the Skarner. Predator available as well, of course, because the boots have been picked up as well as the Ruby Crystal. So this guy is ready to impale someone. That's what we want to see, but he can't wait too long. I mean, I feel like DAMWON have a big advantage here in this mid-game. Like, one item spikes, even Showmaker with Blasting One Sorcerer Shoes does a hell of a lot of damage, and there's a window that they've missed already because Faker goes back and he grabs himself the QSS. I mean, he can now portal jump around this mid lane as much as he likes without having to respect Punch and his Skarner. Punch going to need to go to other lanes in order to try and get this Impale working.
Dragon coming up in 30 seconds. It is only a second Ocean Drake, but SK Telecom probably want to put their eyes on it at the very least.
Yeah, try and cycle between these dragons. Clid is up here towards the top side once again, still biding his time. As Khan doesn't have the flash, but does have Ghost and Ignite to help him in a battle.
This has been something that Khan's done before. I feel like he's telegraphing that Lee Sin's actually here. His movement doesn't look congruent with the story that you don't have your jungler in close proximity.
Yeah, Faker picks up the cleanse with his spellbook and now going to go back to teleport as he has to blow the cleanse. And Punch thinking about grabbing himself the QSS out of Faker, but in the end doesn't decide to go for it. Remember, does also have his own stun that can be paired with the Scatter the Weak and all of the orbs, and they may not actually need an Impale in order to kill the Zoe. Flash available, things like that can be a difficult one, as Showmaker really has the timing down on when to land those orbs to punish Faker from just portal jumping around.
DWG, looks like Punch actually wanted to start the Ocean Drake, and meanwhile SK Telecom, they're going to respond by trying to capture the Herald. Still a minute and a half left on the turret plates, and so this would be a very big victory for SKT in the event that they do get it for free. That is a lot of damage.
Yeah, Showmaker taking down to about half health here, and that means that as he moves over towards this Rift Herald to try and help it, he is a sitting duck if he's hit by any of these trouble bubbles. Faker once again going to get that damage across. Beryl doesn't have the taunt for a few seconds, and SKT secure that Rift Herald basically based on what Faker was able to get done with all of that poke damage. Headbutt Pulp comes in from Faker, looking for more. Another trouble bubble. That's the flash taunt landing in the backline. Cleared. Very close to going down, but thankfully for SKT fans, isn't going to. The flash in from Khan gets the multi-man fear. Nuclear has to Killer Instinct in order to get himself out. It's Faker flashing forward, looking for trouble bubbles, not landing them though, as he dives on over for some follow-up damage. SKT do walk away victorious, but without their AD carry.
And that was a really, really big win for SK Telecom right now, getting the Rift Herald, drawing all of the members of DAMWON to the Herald, and then winning the fight. Take a look at it one more time. You can see everyone's really posturing. Khan activates his ghost before the fight even kicks off. Clid coming in. Beryl only gets a one-man knockup. Faker follows up with the bubble. And then despite Clid being locked up here, you can see that Syndra not able to finalize the kill onto Clid. And then Urgot with the four-man Fear Beyond Death here. Just such a massive turnaround. And even though Nuguri able to bring down Teddy, just doesn't really matter as SK Telecom walk away from this very victorious.
Yeah, that was absolutely amazing. And I think there was a bit of a disconnect between Punch and Beryl there as well, because Beryl got the flash taunt onto two members, but one of them was in the Impale. So Punch basically missing out on a lot of time where that Impale was actually something worth using. When you see that Impale come out, look to see Punch grabbing someone and moving them into his team instead of just moving them around in a team fight, and Clid able to just safeguard his way back out again. So next Impale going to need to be better out of Punch. We were singing his praises in the early game. I want more out of him as we move further into the mid game.
Looks like Clid trying to set up some sort of a play up here in top lane. Khan does have the exhaust available as well as his ultimate in 3 seconds.
Well, Nuguri's going to throw in the Blade of the Ruin King down onto these members, and I don't think we're going to get a charge just yet. Oh, Trouble Bubble lands in the mid lane. Paddlestar comes down as Showmaker actually moving forward, trying to challenge Faker. QSS is, of course, still there if the stun does land.
Looks like Punch wants to try to steal away the blue buff, but Teddy and Mata in close proximity.
Well, Shelly's getting real mad at this top side, and I think that that's going to be another charge coming down onto this inner turret. Can they actually get more here is the question, as it's already down to below half health, and Shelly hasn't even been dealt with yet. Booped in the back. She does turn around in the end, but that is a lot of big damage down on the bottom side as Nuclear. Okay, he'll be fine.
Alice, I gotta tell you that I don't even know why we're casting this match anymore. The turret has already
gone
down.
Right, yeah, so SKT's gonna win.
Yeah.
Alright. Damn.
Well, back for game 2.
Yeah. After the break. Stick around, guys.
MVP is definitely gonna have to be Clid the way that he summoned that Rift.
No, Shelly.
Oh.
Shelly gets the MVP.
Okay.
And we're gonna get a highlight clip of him actually picking up the Rift Herald buff as well, because we saw that one get missed. In an earlier day, I believe that was Friday. That was not a good time.
Unfortunate.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Mata gets his back stopped by a Void Seeker. Hides behind some minions. We'll be able to go back home again. Teddy actually looking to pick up this wave as it heads down towards that bottom side. And we're looking at these 80 carries. I'm thinking Xayah wants a 3-atom power spike, and Nuclear pretty happy to grab a couple of them as long as he's got a couple of his His evolution's in there, needs a couple of pickaxes now. On top of this Blade of the Ruin King to get that Q. And otherwise, he'll be happy.
The thing about this game is that Jace does have the Blade of the Ruin King. Kaisa has it as well, and you can see that on the side of SK Telecom, there's no Ninja Tabbies. There's a lot of magic resistance boots that have been picked up, and so while Showmaker won't have the easiest of times of one-shotting someone by locating the R key.
Yep. You're all about mid laners that locate R keys.
I'm all about it, but
yep.
DAMWON Gaming, they definitely have a lot of physical damage that can try to take out someone on SKT, but as the game progresses, I don't feel like Jace or Syndra accrued the type of advantages that they were supposed to for this early to mid transition. And so even though the gold graph at the top would have you believe that DAMWON's only 500 gold down, SK Telecom are definitely in an advantageous position, and it should realistically be pretty hard for them to lose the next team fight.
Yeah. Well, DAMWON are going to be able to clear out this Rift Scuttler, looking for another Ocean Drake. As they manage to pick up the second, Nuclear comes in. So 5 members here means that the Dragon is well and truly theirs. They've got sole vision of this area as well. Double control ward all the way down. No worries at all. As Marta's just sticking in this brush, trying to make sure that Teddy doesn't get flanked. Not going to at the moment, but SKT playing very calmly. Really not worried about where this game's going. They're happy to give up Ocean Drakes. Infernal is going to be the reward for these first 3 that do come out. They have to wait 4.5 minutes for that one to come in. So the first Drake that we're going to see a real fight around should be happening around then.
Well, definitely a lot of time to scale until then. And with mid basically being a gentleman's agreement where neither party can really get any turret damage down, I don't expect to see all that much happen. The real focus now could potentially just be down in bottom lane. Not going to mislead any of our viewers here to believe that top is going to have anything occur inside of it. Look at the item difference in top lane right now.
Yeah, we're almost
quite good for Urgot.
Yeah. Yeah. We're almost at our Black Cleaver territory for Nuguri, but doesn't have it just yet. So you're right. As you can see, the Purge Shield is the entire burst rotation of Nuguri, and thankfully he does have the Conqueror and things like that in order to get a bit of extra damage in there. But Faker, look at it. He's booking all the way towards Nuguri. That's a very early Fear Beyond Death. And the bubble lands. I have a feeling he's going down, and Khan's going to be able to pick that one up. Even though he doesn't get put into the grinder, he still gets put into the Death Chamber.
This is a really good tempo relief for SK Telecom, as the top tier 2 turret, it doesn't exist, but Jace isn't a champion you ever want to have fall behind. And he's such a crucial part to their team composition due to the lack of armor on SK Telecom's side, so putting him further and further into the grave is definitely one of the best things that SKT could be looking to do this game.
Yeah, I actually really like it. I feel like Noguri's playing exactly how he has to, because he needs to be putting on pressure in a side lane. He's the reason why DAMWON have, you know, been able to play side lanes at all. That's why he has the Blade of the Ruin King. He's doubled down into that play style, the Conqueror there also. And, you know, Syndra can't play side lane, right? If anyone's going to be in a side lane, it's going to be the Jace, and he needs to create pressure down there, otherwise things can fall apart for this composition that DAMWON has put together for themselves.
Interesting to know also, I mean, you mentioned the Syndra. She picks up an Oblivion Orb for herself, and there's not a lot of healing on the side of SK Telecom, so even if you convert it into Morellonomicon, you're just basically getting 80 AP.
Well, you're forgetting that this is Showmaker, and he builds those 3 items on every single champion ever. Luden's into Oblivion Orb and the Sorcerer Shoes, even though Oblivion Orb was nerfed, didn't matter. That's still what he gets every single time, as that's a Trouble Bubble onto the Gargoyle. Nuclear lands the Void Seeker, but of course he's not going to be diving in onto this SKT squad, and it looks like we got the ARAM upon us.
USA.
Oh dear.
We're getting an early preview to the the LCS briefly here in mid lane.
But also, we're getting a demonstration of the fact that DAMWON have a hell of a lot of wave clear. So they will be okay if you've got Nuguri moving over there and Showmaker, then the minions do not last very long at all. So Baron is up. It's been up for about a minute. And look to see these teams vying for vision around that area, because that's what they're going to need to break open these turrets, as Showmaker continues to just destroy minions in this mid lane. And last time we saw the Syndra, it was in the hands of Tempt, and Showmaker is demonstrating that he's having a much better time on the Rift this time.
Yeah, it's a very good CS score, and touching on something that we were just talking about a second ago, why criticize the Oblivion Orb? Well, you know that eventually Teddy will also pick up a Quicksilver Sash, and so there's going to be multiple targets with magic resistance on the side of SKT, so you would just be better off investing into the Void Staff up front unless there's some sort of healing that you're trying to target on the side of SKT. So Showmaker, in a way, is actually stunting his power for the mid to late transition, and that could prove to be fatal for them in upcoming team fights. 45 seconds on the Drake, everyone recalling right now.
Yeah, and I think it's going to stunt him in that transition, but as far as getting power now, those 3 items are fantastic as soon as you pick them up, right?
Absolutely.
But the problem with DAMWON is the fact that they didn't do anything after those items were picked up, right? So you need to look at it and you say, well, I built these items for a reason, and then you say, well, I mean, did you actually play to that reasoning? And the answer for DAMWON's side is actually no, they haven't been able to find any of those fights that they're looking for. We've only had one real team fight apart from that bottom lane craziness that we saw get first blood for DAMWON. So it hasn't been them able to actually find a fight, but now 5 seconds until the Infernal comes up. This could be the opportunity as Faker does find the Trouble Bubble onto the Syndra. Top lane, Noguri is getting a lot of damage down into this outer turret, but he does have teleport, so he can join any of these fights as they come in. Faker gets stunned, doesn't use anything to get out of the way. He's got the exhaust from his spellbook, and SKT just take a free Infernal Drake. It's 2-2 in Drakes, but SKT has the only one worth anything.
Like the emphasis on that. You're absolutely correct there, as when you have a team composition like DAMWON's, it's intending to go in. It wants to utilize the Skarner engage right away, follow it up with a Syndra ultimate, Kai'Sa, Galio engage, backed up off Skarner running into the enemy team, and that's not the type of team comp that really utilizes double Ocean. So those Ocean Drakes are basically dead on both teams until either party gets a Baron, in which case they'll come back online, they'll be able to sort of supplement the Baron siege.
And looking at the DAMWON comp, I actually really like it, right? It's fantastic pick into all-in on the 4v5 that you can create for yourself, right? So, and it does that very, very well. With Hero's Entrance and the Killer Instinct, it means the bottom lane can follow up very easily as another bubble is going to land in the back line. That's on the Syndra, which could be a huge deal. Mata wanted to get that flash pole in on top of him, but can't actually close the distance. Didn't want to overcommit, and SKT just grab the map advantage and move on.
Almost 4 minutes until the next Infernal Drake will be coming up, and we can see that already Teddy beginning to get that magic resist. He's going to stack that up, and Faker also has an Oblivion Orb, but what you'll notice is that the enemy team does not have almost any magic resist, so the Zoe is going to be dealing quite a bit of damage.
Oh, Punch predatoring forward, all the skill shots do miss. DAMWON an opportunity to try and get something in there, and you can see Punch is champing at the bit. He knows that he needs to get something done. He knows that the next Impale needs to be good, but it's been 25 minutes in this game. One Impale has gone down, and it led for an exchange that wasn't in DAMWON's favor. The Skarner pick, once again, much like what we saw from Spirit, not working out very well here as Paddlestar. Going to go a little bit wide there. SKT wanted to get this siege, and they do get some meaningful damage on that outer turret mid lane. Nuguri, though, on the bottom side of the map, is able to push this wave up, can actually collapse onto this turret, even out the turret score, and will actually create a gold lead for DAMWON Gaming against the run of play.
A lot of this lead is mostly being found inside of the CS department across the board. Even though SK Telecom do have more kills, not too much is coming from it.
Well, Nuclear now has the double evolution, I believe, unless he needs to complete the Rage Blade in order to get that supercharger powered up, but I know he does have at least the 100 AD to try and grab the evolution on the Q. So the Acathian Rain going to start hurting here from the Kai'Sa. The Kai'Sa getting more and more difficult to deal with as this game goes on. And you can see this Syndra, 650, just pure farm disparity bounty on top of him. Showmaker is at that stage where the one-shots can come in. It's only a QSS worth of magic resist, which isn't a massive amount from Relinomicon and the Luden's Echo, and this advantage that he does have, especially in the levels, that's a 3-level advantage coming in from the Syndra, and that will be a gigantic amount of damage once level 16 is hit for this mid laner.
Minute and a half now until the Infernal Drake. You can see a ping goes down on the top lane for SK Telecom. Can't quite see the minions, so I don't know if it's coming in or pushing against. but oh, a lot of damage.
Yeah, aggressive positioning there from Showmaker, but we're not going to find the trouble bubble on the side of SKT. And Faker, we talk about Zoe's all the time and what they need to do in the mid-game. Faker needs to be hitting bubbles. He needs to be hitting paddle stars to soften up the members of DAMWON, because we know what they want to do. They want to get a pick, and then they want to go in. They can't do that if their health bars are low, but right now, they're all full, and they're sieging up on this outer turret. Teddy gets tagged, but not going to be too worried about it as Khan goes into his stopwatch. Punch not going to get hit by anything in DAMWON. Oh man, they are just skipping around each other. Both of these teams not quite sure about going in as Punch goes for the flash, but it's a safeguard to get cleared out of the way.
Oh, Barrow looking like he maybe wants an engage, ends up blowing his
Oh
taunt.
man, it's desperation that you can see. Headbutt pole, Mata sees one that he can take down and just eats the gargoyle for breakfast. Khan in the front line, you ain't gonna do anything to him. And SKT, this is what it looks like to have cool heads and calm, collected play. They just let the other team run into them, and as soon as they see an opening, they take it.
Yeah, and that's what the two team compositions are trying to do. It's a balancing act around the Skarner engage with the Syndra follow-up and Jace poke. And on the flip side for SK Telecom, you play front to back. You let the Zoe try to weave in and out of team fights and slowly chip away at DAMWON. And if they misstep, it can just really be all over. Now SK Telecom, they're going to get their second Infernal Drakes of the game.
Yeah, this gold lead that SKT have is basically nothing. 1,000 gold means very little at this stage of the game, but those two fiery dragons are really boosting the damage of this squad, because if you have a look at it, it's a crit-based hyper carry, it's a Zoe, it's so much extra damage available with all of that scaling. And you can see DAMWON paid the price. The flash to the attempted impale, and then Beryl just caught out of position, but honestly it feels like it was Punch trying to start the wrong fight, and meaning that SKT did not have to respect the flash anymore after that. Mata does have to use the ultimate on himself. Not entirely sure what just happened there off screen, but he's going to be fine. Just won't have that big button for another little while.
And SK Telecom right now, they're only ahead by about 200, 300 gold, but do not let that mislead you, as DAMWON is really going to be hard-pressed to find an answer in this game, as they're really far behind, assuming that team fights are taken on even footing.
Yeah. The thing that I'm looking at for DAMWON is, can Nuguri demand two people to meet him in a side lane? And I think the answer at the moment is no. I think that Urgot's probably happy to sit under a turret and farm, or at least play defensively and farm. It is going to be DAMWON brute forcing here in the mid lane, as Khan was, as we were talking about before, taking the minions on the bottom side, and Faker up towards the top side of the map, cleaning up their minions as well. SKT over at the Baron pit, seeing whether they can get that after giving away an objective.
And they're looking to clear out a bit of vision right now, take back one of the spires away from Skarner. And you can see Jace continuing to itemize straight into raw armor penetration.
Khan, okay, Blade of the Ruined King comes in. You've got an exhaust down for Khan here onto the Jace. SKT are rotating first, but look at this. The Conqueror doing work at the moment. Khan just trying to keep Nuguri busy. There's the flash pulverize. Not going to waste any time here at all, and into the grinder you go, Mr. Jace. No heroic entrance is going to save you this time.
And this is going to mean that SK Telecom can finally pick up the bottom tier 1 turret. And Khan doesn't really use anything there. He utilized spellbook spells.
Yeah, he did.
And so Nuguri not going to have his flash available to him for the upcoming Infernal fight, and that's really, really key. As Urgot just continuously keeps stacking on this armor, and he's going to be such a problem for DAMWON to actually face inside of upcoming team fights. As I'm trying to think of a way in which DAMWON can win a team fight at the next Infernal or the Baron, and one's not really coming to me. We see Khan in here running in with Ghost and Exhaust. Nuguri trying to flash away and saying that maybe I can stand my ground, as he has Galio running to him as fast as possible, but it doesn't matter. Mata there with the knockup pulverize, and
well, man, Punch was close to getting in there. The hero's entrance was a little bit too late. Could have actually created some space, but SKT, they timed it just right. Managed to get down there in time. That could have gone very differently because you saw how much damage Noguri was doing to Khan, even though he had Gargoyle Stoneplate, Bramble Vest, Righteous Glory, so many extra defensive stats on this Urgot. He is actually a walking tank, even though he also looks like one. Certainly works very, very well here for the Urgot.
What do you think people see when Urgot kills them?
A lot of chains on their screen.
That's what I mean, in the grinder. What do you?
Probably your own.
Fear beyond death.
Right.
Something has to be going on after.
I mean, if I was in I assume that if I was in a grinder, I'd probably see a bunch of guts and blood and things like that. I guess my imagination just isn't good enough in order to say anything of note. Sorry, mate.
Well, coming back to the main game, SK Telecom just looking like they're content to be very careful as they're waiting for their third Infernal Dragon. There's been a lot of Infernal Dragons spawning.
Yeah, there really was sort of just like light at the end of the tunnel here as far as the Dragons were concerned, because the 3 oceans, we got through them. Now we're at the Promised Land, and SKT, with their control of the mid to late game, were able to monopolize them. Certainly a great news story. You can give away a couple of Dragons in the early game if they are those, as Faker gets himself out of the way, portal jumps, gets him back in, but DAMWON able to get some meaningful damage onto the mid laner of SKT. Certainly a good news story, because Nuclear does have the Infinity Edge complete. He's at 3 items. Teddy is mirroring him, of course, so the Xayah needs to be respected as well. But DAMWON do have a lot of firepower here. You can see Showmaker moving very far up here in this lane. I mean, this Syndra hasn't died yet so far this game, but that doesn't mean that he's been playing defensively at all. As now you've got Punch waiting in the wings. He wants to find his way forward. Flash is available. You can see this positioning from DAMWON, very aggressive. They know that they want to be able to grab that first pick off as Khan. Righteous Glory does come in there. That's a 3-man empowered Shock Blast, but that Trouble Bubble is just huge news. Coming in from Faker means the Punch has to wait for that Crystalline Exoskeleton to come back off cooldown yet again. Faker not going to be able to find that bubble. They do grab themselves the Rift Scuttler.
It all comes down to Zoe.
Yep, can Faker actually find these bubbles? The Infernal Drake does respawn, and DAMWON, they want to even out the Drake count and get themselves an Infernal. Can they get on over? Okay, Punch, here's your time, but the Pulverize is in. That's 3 Infernal Drakes. We do have a decent Impale this time. Khan going to be taken down first off. A lot of the burst damage is used. A lot of the buttons now not available for DAMWON, and Nuclear getting tagged with that one is a huge deal. Flash very early, respecting the Sonic Wave from Cleared. And DAMWON want to be able to walk away with that one pick off. Faker in trouble, but does use the QSS to get out of danger. A lot of damage onto Beryl. He is going to go down. Noguri going to find another empowered Shock Blast, but no kills in SKT. They get the 1-for-1 in the end, and they're even frisky enough to go towards this Baron pit.
Yeah, and they're basically saying that maybe DAMWON Gaming is actually out of fuel, and we can look to try to convert this into a Baron capture, but it seems like they're actually respecting DAMWON's ability to come into the Baron. And interestingly enough, this is one of the few instances in which a double Ocean Drake is probably coming into quite good effect. And that was a really scary Infernal capture. I'm sure that we're going to see it again in a second. It looked very reminiscent of Sandbox versus Kingzone yesterday, where they took a Baron that they couldn't realistically probably defend. But DAMWON, they start off this fight right away without getting chipped down by SK Telecom. They pull Urgot in and say, hey, this is what your ultimate feels like. And he gets brought down right away, but then DAMWON posturing a little bit longer than they needed to, and it gave SK Telecom the necessary time to start chipping away at them. And this is normally how the fights should be going against one another, is Zoe trying to do her best to land bubbles, land poke, because in a straight-up 5-on-5, SK Telecom can't win.
Yeah, and it's more about, you know, SKT being able to skip around fights and disengage effectively and have Khan in a good position to negate any sort of attempted engage from DAMWON Gaming, because then you can have that turnaround so beautifully if they do punish you in that Fear Beyond Death multiple fear that can come through. So You can see exactly what SKT are happy to do, and you can see it in how these fights are going, because it's all about DAMWON positioning aggressively because they know they have to, even though they're slightly behind this game, especially in those dragons, as Beryl takes a hell of a lot of damage there from that paddle star. Faker doing a bunch of work here, as he has so far this season on the Zoe pickup.
I don't want to confuse any of our viewers. Just a few moments ago I said that on even footings, SKT can't lose a fight, but then I just said that SK Telecom can't lose a straight-up fight, or they can't win a straight-up 5v5. But what I mean by that is, if SK Telecom are playing their comps right, it's very hard
there's
to
the
lose.
flash kick. They're looking for Nuguri yet again, but he flashes himself out. There's the hero's entrance. Beryl gets into position. A decent triple taunt there is Penny. Relatively zoned, but it doesn't matter. Khan, so huge in the front line on the Urgot, and that's the fear beyond death that we've been talking about. If that one lands, SKT wins.
Whoa. Showmaker having to use his cleanse right there, but nonetheless, this was a massive victory for SK Telecom. They're going to be able to pick up Baron with this, and if they end up getting the Baron, there's not really any wave clear on the side of DAMWON Gaming, as they are a pseudo-poke comp in a way. Pick poke, whatever you want to call them. Those type of team compositions do not fare well against a Baron. Taking another quick look at the replay, Klid getting right behind Nuguri, kicks him right into the fight. Unfortunately for them, the Fear Beyond Death did land onto Nuguri, and so a multi-man stun. Showmaker ulting right into an Urgot. That's not the target that you want to hit.
Nope. And it's just so beautiful that you can follow these fights so easily based on what the compositions want to do. You're looking at the impaled target, you're looking at the Fear Beyond Death target. Whichever one yields fruit is the team that's most likely going to win the fight. And as you saw just there, SKT were the ones to get on top of it based on Klid kicking back the Jace. And he got speared, and that meant the end. Because you just can't be around the Urgot. It creates all of that space, and even though you've got a Galio, even though you've got all of this damage from Showmaker and Nuclear, you can see they both haven't died yet this game, but it's multiple team fight losses despite that.
Right now, SK Telecom, they're setting their sights on the bottom lane, as it looks like Klid is going to be the one to escort the mid-minion wave with Baron's punch. Trying to come in, he has to be real.
Yeah, Trop Bubble doesn't land, as there's the headbutt pole, but it just doesn't quite work. Oh, great ultimate there to get out of the impale from Mata. It's a big button now not available from DAMWON, as SKT looking to continue this siege. Bottom side of the map, mid there as well, like you say. It's Klid moving that one on up. Another minion wave comes in here, and DAMWON, as you can see, just don't have the wave clear to deal with the Baron.
It looks like Zoe trying to... What is that? Is that, what's that Zoe icon?
You don't remember?
No, I do remember. I forgot its name.
It's the Shirelia's Revelry that got turned into Talisman of Ascension, I think, is something like that.
Right.
Is it Talisman of Ascension its name? I'm trying to remember.
I think she stole the sun. It's looking
Something
like a sun
like
to me.
that, yeah, well.
Zoe's a flat earther.
I don't know where you get flat earther from after seeing that, but...
She just took the sun away. I don't know.
Oh, God.
Pick it up and move it.
No wonder it's chilly here in Korea.
Yeah.
Well, Bubble going to try and do some zoning here as Mata comes on over. He knows what Punch wants to do, despite the control ward vision. Headbutt back, and that's an Elder Drake going over to SKT. Triple Infernal Elder Drake means this burn damage is disgusting. And SKT, they're just taking the entire map right now. Oh, go to sleep, my dear Prince. Pulled back in and gets himself a fear there as well. No, actually doesn't. He's going to get some flashes out, though. Showmaker flashing away immediately. Oh, my goodness. Special delivery on that one as Faker Zoe. He mentioned it in an interview. If he gets it, he's going to win the game. He's very confident on this pick at the moment. In solo queue, he has almost a 9 average KDA in solo queue on the Zoe.
Zoe is definitely considered one of the best mid lane champions right now, if not just the queen of mid lane in the current meta. And so Faker having yet another excellent performance on it yet again.
Scat of the Week is going to stun Klid, so that means that there's no follow-up under Nuguri. They only break the base in one position at the moment. Going to use the last 10 seconds of this Baron buff to get themselves out of there, and the Void Seeker is going to seek Zoe all the way back to the base.
Take another quick look at it, and even though Punch does have his flash, it doesn't Mata. Mata told him to get out of the way, as it was a full-on retreat at that point from DWG Gaming, but turns out that Zoe's a pretty good champion. And right there, Galio, you're coming with me.
Yeah,
just
goes for the
barely
fear.
missed that fear.
Exactly. Showmaker, quick fingers on the flash, able to get out of there as Khan makes his way in with his, but trading flashes with a Syndra, always good for anyone but the Syndra in that trading scenario because she needs it. Any mobility is the mobility that you require. And SKT now turn their sights towards top side of the map. Going to be more difficult to siege now without Baron available, but 2 minutes and that one will be up again. And SKT looking just to make sure that it's very, very dark on that side of the map.
Well, SK Telecom here. Elder Dragon buff is still online for another 20 seconds or so, but without any real minion waves or anything going on, they're not going to be able to force DAMWON to fight them. However, Baron coming up in 1 minute and 30. DAMWON will certainly be forced to try to enter into the left-hand side river and contest that.
Yeah, and a lot of items have come in here for DAMWON, but namely, there is no Void Staff on Showmaker. So any of this magic resist that has been picked up is going to mean a lot less damage coming in from the Syndra backline. Another bubble is going to land here from Faker. This is what you see out of the best Zoes. The bubbles always seem to have a magnet, and you just can't walk up towards other ones. I mean, the bubbles fly in, and then you use that as an opportunity to engage, right? But not this time around. Faker doing it from safety and just frustrating the members of DAMWON. Nuclear still looking for that Mercurial Scimitar transform. Teddy, however, on 6 items. The Xayah is gigantic and so safe with the Featherstorm available, as well as the QSS passive. Active, sorry.
30 seconds now until Baron. Super Minion still pushing into bottom lane. Doesn't really matter, though, Nuggery in such close proximity.
I mean, this is a really fast Skana, but what are the targets that he's going for here on the side of SKT? We've got Unbreakable Will from Marta. He doesn't even need to build a QSS, and he's going to be totally fine. Speaking of QSS, it's still there on Faker. It's still there on Teddy. He can grab Clit, I guess, but we've seen that before, and he just safeguards his way out. He's even got a funny-looking shield as the Locket of the Iron Solari does come in for him as well, so he's just got a lot of tankiness. I just don't know whether he's the target that you want, not to mention the Guardian Angel, which really will negate any sort of big potential. Onto the Lee Sin. It's calm, but if you bring him into your squad, he's got 6 items, and you'll probably hurt yourself more by hitting him with his Thornmail. Gargoyle Stoneplate there as well just means that hurting the Urgot is just really, really hard. So, Punch, I'm looking at you, and I'm wondering what the heck you're going to do with this Skana pickup. It's going to be really tough for DAMWON to actually make a team fight work here at this stage of the game.
SKT look like they're just trying to clear out all of the vision around the blue side jungle and surrounding Baron proximity.
So you can see SKT going to telegraph the fact that they started up this Baron. The first
it goes down so quick.
Yeah, I know. It's 3 Infernal Drakes and so much damage. But DAMWON are going to be able to actually get themselves over here. Nuclear does land the Void Seeker. It's a flank coming in from Marta. Wants to get that big Pulverize, but it's not going to happen. Beryl knocked into the rest of his team, and Khan lands the Fear Beyond Death. Not going to be able to get the Fear as they kill them too quickly. Teddy just rips apart the AD carry. The first death of Nuclear, and he might even be in the death chamber when the game is over. A triple kill for the Xayah, and if you don't keep him in check, he'll destroy your whole team.
And it looks like SK Telecom is saying, you know what, we don't even actually want the Baron. We're just going to get the inhibitor. Well, they might go for the game. They have a Super Minion down in bottom lane.
Yeah, DAMWON, they know about it. Yeah, Syndra's going to come in here, and without the Baron buff, it's going to be difficult, but these Super Minions do last a long time, even if you're throwing those Dark Spheres at them, and first Nexus turret goes down, the second if Teddy looks at it. He'll be able to take that one as well as Mercurial Scimitar is utilized. He's down relatively low, and the Shock Blasts are starting to hurt, but the Nexus, it's the one that's going to be taken here. Faker is going to go down, but you need to kill the whole team, and they're not able to. SKT roll over. DWG Gaming